What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Paul Shannon. How you doing today, Paul?
Good, Dan. Glad to be here. What's going on?
All right, awesome. It's great to have you. And for those of you in the audience who've never seen a Chance Encounter before, this is how it works. I interview commercial real estate investors, and then I go through the 5 different motivations that I found are distinct among commercial real estate investors and say, hey, which one of these really describes you best? And then I go through the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die, and you can get your own copy of this for free. You don't even have to give me your email. I'm just that nice of a guy at DanDoesDeals.com, and that way you can print it out, show it to your friends and family, and effectively communicate on the topic of commercial real estate. And speaking of effectively communicating, it's very important that you learn how to introduce yourself effectively. So with that tee up, Paul, can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. Yeah. Paul Shannon. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a rehabber and a repositioner, both of single family and apartments.
All right, beautiful. So that's short and sweet. Let's move into the motivation piece, which means I need to hit this, then I hit this, then I hit that, and I hit that. And boom, there we go. Why do you want a commercial property? Why do you want part of a commercial property? I go through this motivation piece first here because sometimes I'll interview newbies and at least they know what their motivation is, even if they don't know the role that they're going to take. And the 6 different roles are already on there. But first motivation, preserve purchasing power. If you rely on your assets and the cash flow that comes from it to make ends meet, then your biggest concern is inflation. So you need to make more acquisitions or else it's going to be party over. So that's the first motivation. The second motivation is my one, which is trading time for wealth. Personally, I've got a background in the CRM companies, so that means mass emailing, online funnels, all that sort of fun stuff. And the problem of being in tech in that kind of situation is you are paying the biggest form of tax that's out there, which is what happens if you get a high salary or wages. That seems silly to me, so I pivoted and I started looking at commercial properties and equity in businesses in return for my time and effort. So this is what I'm up to in this whole exercise. The next reason is the most common one, though, which is fast tracking retirement. There are some things that are implied in fast tracking retirement. The biggest one is that there's some goal, there's some endpoint in sight, whereas with the next group, maybe not. They're so ambitious, they want to buy their entire hometown. Maybe they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. Whereas the retirement people, maybe living someplace with a low cost of living is better for them. But these guys, they'll keep hustling into their 90s. The other ones that might keep on going in their 90s, but still for a different reason, is the people who have some sector of society, perhaps, that, or maybe the environment or animals or something like that, and they really want to have the most impact on that sector that they possibly can. So they realize they need to accumulate wealth, but it's not just for wealth's sake. So of those 5 different motivations, Paul, what resonates with you? What combination describes you best?
That's a really good breakdown. I'd say it's probably a little bit of all of those, so all the above. But there's 2 that probably stand out more than the others. Number one was trading time for money for certain. I spent my W-2 career in medical device sales. I traveled all over the place. I was in the operating rooms early in the mornings, And essentially what it boiled down to is I was missing my family as they were growing up. And I just decided that if I wanted to change things, I had to take accountability and action on my own. And that meant starting my own business. And I felt like real estate was a relatively simple business to get started in and to understand. So for a guy who's not that smart, real estate made sense to me. So that's number one. And then I'd say preservation of purchasing power is next. I felt as though the traditional 60-40 stock bond split that is often touted by the financial industry as being the gold standard of retirement was really flawed and broken. If you look at where bonds are today, the 40% of that portfolio, they're offering almost zero yield. And if interest rates rise, their values are going to decline because they're inversely related to yield. So with that, I needed another way to find income, and real estate actually offers a lot of the same benefits that bonds do to kind of offset some of the volatility in stock. So at that point, kind of marrying up the two, what I wanted for my life and my family and just my day-to-day, and also what I thought was a necessity for my portfolio, real estate made a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, and after all, like if you just deposit it at the bank, it's not even keeping up with inflation. So that means you're actually losing money by saving money. It's really a scary thing once you really understand the gravity of it. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose. But on that lovely note, you're just learning about commercial real estate more likely than not. And don't forget, DanDoesDeals.com is where you can download and print out your own roll die. But I want to bring it right from zero just so that the people in the audience can communicate effectively. So let's first talk about what is a repositioner. A repositioner, it's an acquisitions person. They're looking at a bunch of different properties, okay, and then they're underwriting it, which is the fancy word for doing the math, okay? And why are they doing the math? Well, part of it is to make sure that the seller is actually telling the truth, that the building is actually making the amount of money that they say it is. But they're really looking for upside. And the repositioner has two main tools in their tool belt for that. The first one is the operations piece. They make sure that less money is going down the drain. These Benjamins, got to stop that. But it's more than just unclogging toilets. Me personally, I've got marketing experience, so the vacancy, keeping the vacancy rate low is the marketing piece in a possible GP position. So that's one thing that a repositioner can do to find upside, but usually that's not enough right now because real estate's too hot. The other move is you can get a contractor, a contracting team. So you can do what's called a value add. In other words, you make the units nicer, and then that way you can charge more in rent or for your lease. But if you are the type of repositioner that I am, which is from the internet, then you got a problem. You're going to need a local. Okay, you're going to need to have somebody who can be there in an hour or two, and that's not going to be me because I don't want to even have to find my passport in an hour or two. So most tenants, when they look at these different people here, they think, oh, well, that's the owners. But of course, it's never that simple. The banks are always involved, the financiers, and the financiers are going to be asking something that we haven't gone over yet. They're going to be asking, who's the sponsor? Who's the KP? And to be eligible for a loan, for one of these commercial loans, you have to have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. So if you want to buy a 350 unit apartment complex, somebody, if you're going to get a loan, has to already own a similar asset. And there are a couple other restrictions. You have to have a certain amount of liquidity, and then you also have to have a balance sheet put together of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all those pieces, then you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. The only other thing I got to add is that a capital raiser is also a form of financier. But out of those different roles there, Paul, what's your core competency that you're most likely to contribute in your next deal?
Well, I've started as solopreneur, and then I've migrated into JV deals, really from a necessity of capital, because at some point in this business, you reach a ceiling on what you can acquire because you run out of money. But my core competency is probably as an operator. That's boots on the ground, somebody local. I'm here in Indianapolis, have assets in Evansville. I'm looking in Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. Those are markets I really know and understand, have lived in the past, have relationships in. So I'm the guy that comes in, I can underwrite deals, I can analyze them well, I know what a good deal looks like, and then put together a plan and actually help execute that plan. I've got a little bit of property management experience, a little bit of project management experience, although now I outsource those because those aren't my core competencies, but I can oversee those functions and effectively basically execute the value add plan till stabilization, where we'll either refinance it or sell the property.
All right, beautiful. And then the next question then is, you mentioned some of the details from being a local. It's one term that's often used is called a buy box, and what it is, it's the geography, it's the unit count, and it's the class. There's two different terms for class. Okay, they both are ABC. One of them is for the quality, the condition of the building, and then the other one is the quality of the area, as far as like crime rate and things like that. So as far as the property where it's so much easier for you to say yes and it's way more difficult for you to say no, Paul, could you please describe those?
Sure. Yeah. So from an active investment standpoint, I like to stay below the syndicator's radar. So we're looking for distressed value add assets, BC class, built before, let's call it 2000, maybe even 1990. That are between 20 and 80 units, that have some operational inefficiencies potentially, but really have been neglected from a deferred maintenance standpoint. Units might be dated, might be from the 70s or 80s, and just by simply going in and upgrading it to current standards, we're able to then take the leases and elevate them to market rate. And through that, if there's enough yield, if there's enough spread between the market cap and where we can operate the property when it's stabilized, then we've got a good asset on our hands. So that's the plan.
All right, beautiful. And one of my favorite things about commercial real estate in general is that because nobody is all of the sides of the die at once, we all tend to be really, really helpful, but we're all better suited to help some people than others. And Paul, I don't want you to break any SEC restrictions, so it means you can't entice investors. But could you please describe the person in real estate who's best suited to reach out to you?
That would be somebody maybe that already owns an asset in the markets that I've already mentioned, that maybe is having a hard time managing it from afar. We're getting involved in a JV deal right now that is basically that scenario where the seller was going to dispose of the property and try to sell it, but I got to them in time and basically told them what a good value add strategy would be to get the valuation up. And I'm essentially buying into their property, and they're going to end up doing a lot better than they would have if they sold it today. So a situation like that where somebody needs boots on the ground to execute and improve the asset, and that would go from the acquisition as well. So if somebody could find a deal but didn't quite know how to take it from point A to point B, I could be the guy that could come in to help them do that.
All right, that's a wonderful answer. And what's the best way to reach out to you? We caught each other on LinkedIn. Is that the best way, or is there a website that's better or something?
LinkedIn's great. I'm active on LinkedIn quite a bit. And then my website is redhawkinvesting.com. You can reach me there as well.
Okay. Was that hawk like the bird or hot like the temperature?
I should probably change it to hot, but it's hawk like the bird. Red Hawk.
Gotcha.
Investing. Yes.
There you go. All right. And one other thing, which is for you in the camera there, which is if you look under my hand here, there's a red button. And it makes me so angry. And the only way to make it go away is to click on it. And that turns it gray. It's much better because that means that YouTube pays for these videos instead of me. And it's much better. And all it does, it doesn't cost you a dime. It costs you absolutely nothing. And it means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you don't even have to click on those, because even just the subscription, that is plenty of a favor for me. Just like Paul, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been fantastic getting to know you.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I'm hitting that button right now.
Awesome. Thank you. See you next time.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions and has a great setup. It's easy It's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can, just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love Shannon.